Well, hello there. My name is Mark Miles, as you know, and I love helping trainers, presenters, no matter the level of experience, really take the results to the next level. And in today's video, I am going to share with you something that is super personal to me and essentially my entire IP, my entire intellectual property. But the reason I'm sharing it is I am sick and tired of trainers not really having a structure and format to actually follow, particularly when they are first starting out. Because I need to share with you, when I first started out training in the training industry, no one really gave me a roadmap to follow. Nobody really told me how to run a really effective, powerful, and engaging training session. And as a result, I was really struggling and trying to find different things here and there. And for me, it was a very tough journey. And, when I was first starting out in teaching, for example, my teaching mentor at the time sort of said, here's a textbook, there's the classroom, good luck, have a good time. And in the world of training, also, my induction became very much just pick up the pieces and see what happens. And so in today's video, I'm going to share with you something that is going to revolutionize your results in the training field and the workshops that you may be running. I am going to give you the exact roadmap, the exact structure, the exact formula that you can follow if you want to run an amazing training session. Yes, I'm giving away a lot here, but folks, I am sick and tired of people not having a roadmap to follow. And if you actually follow this roadmap and what I'm about to share, and today's video is going to be probably the most instructional you'll ever see from me, but essentially it's time. It's time for people to have a roadmap to actually follow. So if you're first starting out as a trainer, you can pretty much follow this structure and you'll be good to go. All right. So get ready, grab a pen, and I also encourage you to watch this video over a few times just so that you capture the key points, and also it will allow you to pick up the subtleties of what I'm about to go through. All right. Now, I'm going to bring it up on the screen. I'm going to walk you through it, and let's have some fun as I walk you through the structure and the outline of how you can deliver a truly amazing session. All right, so let me bring it up here, folks. All right, so hopefully you can see it on the screen. Now, essentially on the left-hand side, I've got a bunch of, I guess, key sections that we're going to go through here. Then on the right-hand side, we've got some syntax. Now, basically, syntax is another way to say, the words or, what we're going to say, so to speak. All right. So as we go through this, I'm going to explain the different portions, and I'm actually going to say some potential words that you could use at different sections that we've got here. So let's jump into it. Now, if you are delivering a session online, you do want to do a sound check, all right? But if you're doing a face-to-face session, you may do a sound check as well. Hello, can everyone hear me, all right? But if it's an online session, one of my favorite ways to handle that is give me 2 thumbs up if you're going to hear me and see me. Give me 2 thumbs up if you're going to hear me and see me, all right? That's a great way to kick off the session and get everyone involved. All right, now we've got housekeeping and safety. Now, I like to handle the housekeeping and safety as early on as possible. So before we go into the session, I'll say something like this is a face-to-face session. I'll say something to the effect of, hi guys, before we jump into the session, just wanted to let you know the emergency exits are over there. Tea and coffee are over there, and the restrooms are over there. In the case of an emergency, this is what we'll be doing. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. So just covering off that housekeeping as early as possible so that it doesn't get in the way of anything that you're doing. And also everybody knows what to do in the case of an emergency. Awesome. Then G. All right. So let's jump into it. G stands for greet. All right. Now, greet could sound something like good morning, good afternoon, good morning, and welcome to your XYZ blah, blah course. All right. So good morning, good afternoon, welcome to your advanced public speaking workshop. Or good morning, good afternoon, welcome to your leadership and management power skills workshop. Whatever you want to say, but the most important distinction there is that we include the word your. All right. So good morning, welcome to your XYZ workshop. It is a pleasure and honor to have you here today. Now, next piece, A. A stands for acknowledge. All right. Now, acknowledgement is all about making your audience feel good about attending, but also edifying them for who they are. So that might sound like everyone. Before we go into it any further, I just want to say a huge thank you. By show of hands, who here has had to rearrange their work schedule or potentially their life and personal schedule to be here this week? Who's had to do that by a show of hands? Awesome. So I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone, because this course doesn't actually start now. It starts the moment you made the decision to actually come along today, which is awesome. I just want to really acknowledge that. And I just never take it for granted that people are in my training room or in my workshop. Thank you so much for making the commitment. And another thing is, I know one fact about all of you here today. All of you are very committed learners that really want the best for themselves and also for the best around for the people around them. All right, so you can vary up that edification point as much as you want and make it really tailored to who they are and who the audience are. But at the end of the day, the more you can acknowledge them and the more you can make them feel good for coming along, the better it's going to be. All right, the hook, the why, statistic, story, the WIFM. Now, this is a really, really key component, because basically we are saying what they're going to get out of the session and what they're going to get out of your workshop. And this we can say in a number of different ways, such as, my intention is for you to walk away with the skills, the knowledge, and the structure to be able to do X, Y, Z. Or it could be, who here would love to have a lot more money in their life by a show of hands? Awesome. Who here would like to have a lot more freedom in their life to be able to do the things they love when they want to do them by a show of hands? Awesome. Who'd like to have both by a show of hands? Excellent. Or we can go into a statistic, and we could say, hi guys, before we go into today's content, I want to share with you a statistic that blew my mind. And that statistic was 73% of leaders in Australia still struggle with having difficult conversations. And today, in today's workshop, you're going to walk away with the confidence, the power, and the skills to be able to have empowering conversations to create brand new outcomes. It can be anything at all, but you need to phrase it in a way that's really going to capture your audience and position it as a thing that they're going to walk away with going, yes, I'm so happy I got that. All right. So you could say, my intention is, you could say, would you like a way to, or who here would like, or you could use a statistic, or even start out with a story. Okay. But it's all about what's in it for them. All right? Now, after we've got that, then we can say something to the effect of, now, we're going to spend a couple of days together. Would it be okay if I told you a little bit about myself so that you knew who was taking you on this journey today? Now, some people say, why would you ask permission? Well, because it's kind of a nice thing to do. And also, generally, I've never had anyone ever say no to that question. And even if you do get some people that say, yeah, you can generally find that some people in the audience will be nodding their heads anyway. All right. So even if you got some resistance around that, just take a deep breath and get over it. Because ultimately, with the self-intro, it's just polite. And I like to just phrase it that way, say, we are going to spend some time together. And I know as a participant, I always like to know who's the person up in front talking to me today. And so you can phrase it that way as well. Now, the self-intro, though, we want to use a particular formula. And I've shared this formula in other videos that you'll find online on YouTube. But simplest formula that you can use is, so as many of you would know, my name is blah, blah. My name is Mark Miles. And I have been a X for X period of time. When I first started, I thought X. I soon realized X. And I love teaching this course because I get to help you do this and this. All right. So let me give you a working example of that. It would sound like, hi, my name is Mark Miles, as you would know, and I have been a public speaking trainer or a workshop facilitator for the last 10 and a half years now. And when I first started teaching and running workshops, I thought it was all about just following the session plan and, just covering the key points and, just getting through the content. I soon realized it was so much more. I soon realized it was ultimately, how deeply can I connect with an audience and how can I really make the content come alive and really make it memorable for the audience? And I love teaching this course because I get to help you work through your public speaking fears, but ultimately learn to help you learn to really structure your content in a powerful way, so that you don't just get heard, but your content gets remembered and you're able to have a really powerful influence on whoever you are talking to. So let's get into it. Okay. Now, it could be anything at all, but ultimately the last piece of your self intro needs to relate to your audience and what they are going to get out of it. Your self intro, ironically, and as odd as it is, it's actually not about you. It's actually about what they're going to get out of you and the benefits that you're going to bring because you are the facilitator. All right. So we've got some housekeeping, we've got some greet, we've got some acknowledge, we've got some talk, we got some self intro. Now, after that, let's jump to the next piece. We got some icebreaker. We got some learning outcomes, ground rules, agenda, and schedule. So icebreaker, what does that sound like? Well, what we need to realize is that in a learning environment, one of your biggest jobs as a trainer, facilitator, coach, and mentor is to create safety, safety in the learning environment. Now, we need rapport between the trainer and the group, and we need rapport between the group members. And if there is no rapport between the group members, some people are going to be sitting there going, not really feeling safe right now. So one of the ways that we do that is an icebreaker. But the problem is most icebreakers are completely unsuccessful. And what I mean by that is the purpose of an icebreaker, as I said, is to create comfort and positivity in the learning environment. But an icebreaker, what people often do is they say, all right, go and meet someone and tell them something interesting about yourself and why you've come along to this course. But what we need to realize is that those two questions kind of make people feel a little bit awkward. And we need to realize that if we're going to do an icebreaker, we need to make sure that it's going to ignite positivity in our audience. So generally what I suggest to people is icebreaker should sound something like two innocuous questions that generally people feel comfortable sharing, such as stand up, go and meet someone, tell them your name, and tell them what is something you absolutely love about what you do, or what has inspired you to come along today. And it's ultimately going to be two questions, two innocuous questions that people do feel comfortable sharing, and a question that is going to lead into the topic. So, for example, if you're teaching leadership skills, then it could be go and meet someone and tell them what do you love about what you do, and in your life, who's been the best leader, coach, or mentor that you've ever had. And generally, that is going to lead to a positive emotion and positive feeling. Don't do the opposite and say, who was the worst leader you've ever had? Because that's going to lead to bitching and moaning, complaining in your training room. And then suddenly you've got a complete mess that you've got to clean up. All right. So, icebreaker. All it is two innocuous questions that ideally relate to the learning content, the topic that you're going to talk about. So it could be public speaking. All right, go and meet someone and tell them, what do you currently do? What do you love about it? And, what are the things that you really enjoy about what you currently do? And next question could be, who is the best public speaker that you've ever come across? It could be anything at all, but it must be positive, and it must be two simple innocuous questions that people feel comfortable answering. All right, next one, learning outcomes. Now, learning outcomes, yes, it might sound formulaic, but what I like to say is by the end of this workshop, you will be able to do X, Y, Z. By the end of this workshop, you will be able to have powerful conversations that transform people's behavior, and you will be able to develop the skills to deploy XYZ technique. Could be anything at all, but you want to restate those learning outcomes. And also, the learning outcomes could often relate to if it is actually completing assignments or assessments or work, so to speak. You could say by the end of the session, you will have completed blah, 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 and you will be able to do blah, blah, all right? Or you will understand blah, blah, okay? But you want to restate those learning outcomes. Next, ground rules. What I always encourage people to do, if not insist, is setting ground rules. Now, you may call them learning frames, you may call them ground rules, you may call them rules of engagement. Doesn't really matter what you call them, but you have to set a frame for how you are going to run the session and the expectations on how you want people to actually behave. So, well, the way I like to phrase this is, all right, in order to achieve those learning outcomes, let's set some ground rules so that we're all on the same page and we achieve that learning outcome as quickly and as easily as possible. All right, so everybody grab a pen and get ready to write. Please write down these rules of engagement. Number one, and I will get people to write down the ground rules. And that is going to reinforce them at a deeper level, at a conscious and unconscious level. And I will then always make sure with every ground rule, I'll use the magic word of because. For example, participate fully because the more you put in, the faster you can get out and the more you're going to develop the skills. Number two could be phones on quiet because, as we all know, when phones go off, it can be distracting. Number three, take phone calls outside because, as we all know, we all want to get the most from this learning environment. We all want to set up a world-class learning environment, okay? So you're going to have your stock standard 12, maybe 10, maybe, totally up to you. But I think anything beyond 10 is a little bit ridiculous. But your 10 ground rules are your ways of operating that are important for when you run your workshops. So make sure you include that magic word of because for every rule. Okay, next, agenda and schedule. All right, so this is where we would say something like, all right, so today we're going to cover the topics of this, and this, and this. We're going to start at this time each day. We're going to have lunch at this time each day, and we're probably going to wrap up about XYZ time. Now, just a pro tip on this, I would not recommend putting the agenda up on a flip chart and putting it on the room wall or anything like that. I would not be too specific with your morning teas and afternoon times if you can avoid it, because what you often find is that whatever you declare, people will hold to you. So you've got to be very careful not to reveal too much, because if you do, then you've got to hold yourself to it. And if you don't, then people are like, I'm not feeling comfortable right now. And also, people are going to start waiting for those breaks. So I will be very flexible with how much information you provide in the agenda and schedule and keep it as rough and, broad as you can. But you do want to mention basically start times, finish times, and lunchtime. And generally people are okay with that. All right. So the agenda, today we're going to cover blah, 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 blah. And these are the start times, finish times, and lunch times. All right. So once we've done that, let's jump into the next piece, body, explain. Now, as we've gone through this so far, you might be thinking, oh, that's very similar to that, or yeah, I already know that, or, that makes sense, or yeah, that, or that's just copying that. What we're going through right now, there's a number of subtleties that I'm hoping that you're picking up on. So, for example, when we say greet, welcome to your, that is a critical thing that, when you add it in, is so much sugar and spice and color and flavor instead of saying morning, right? So there's so much deeper impact that's going to come as you follow the steps that we're going through. Now, body, explain. So this could be something like, all right, today, in order to help you understand XYZ concept, I want to share with you a very simple model that you can follow. And let's unpack the model, all right? Now, pro tip, the more that you can make your models as simple and as easy and made up of 3 parts or 4 parts, then it's going to be a lot easier for someone to relate to. Now, the body and explain, you can teach one thing and then get people to do an activity, or you can teach the model, get people to do an activity, anything you want to do. All right. Now, after you've taught the thing, so to speak, then we want to jump into an activity for them to actually experience the concept. And you can transition by saying, okay, awesome, we've just covered XYZ concept. Let's jump into an activity to practice that and get understanding at a deeper level. Right? So you want to be bouncing between teaching activity, because fundamentally we need to realize that somebody doesn't know it until they've done it. Somebody doesn't know it until they've actually done it in front of you, and you can go, yep, this person can absolutely do that thing. All right. Now, get them to do the activity, whatever that is, all right? And in other videos, I've talked about different activities that you can do. But now they've done an activity, now you want to say, okay, now please go and stand with someone else in the room and tell them what's one thing you discovered or realized when you did that activity. All right. So we've got the body explain, the teaching the thing. Then we've got an activity. Then we've got PR, which stands for peer review. Peer review. So this is where you get people to go and share with someone else. What did you discover? What did you realize when we did that activity together? Okay. And then people are going to share with each other for like 1 minute or 2 minutes. 1.5 minutes is generally the best time. Okay, pro tip on that one. Now, next we've got GD. GD stands for group debrief. And what you would want to do then, after you've done the pair share, is get everybody back in the room and go, all right, cool. Go ahead, Mary, what did you discover? What did you share with your partner? Awesome. Tim, what did you discover? What did you share with your partner? And get everybody to share their experiences. So that's your group debrief. Now, after that, you've got what's called the cleanup. The cleanup. Now, cleanup is a bit of an interesting one because what we sometimes do is, or what we sometimes have happen, is people do the activity and then they share with their partner, but they actually walk away from the activity with something completely weird and odd, and they don't actually catch the meaning or the intent behind the activity. So they might walk away going, blah, 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 or, oh, yeah, I didn't like that. Or, they might come up with a reaction that's not what you intended. So the cleanup point of view is here, we would say something like, awesome, so glad you said that. Awesome, so glad you said that. The number one thing that I want you to take away from that activity that we just did is blah. And you lay out the intended meaning and you say, I really want you to walk away remembering blah, 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 blah. All right, does that make sense to everyone? And then you get agreement on that. You may even get them to write down that key learning that you really want them to get. Okay, so cleanup is always where you solidify and magnify the meaning that you really want people to get from whatever activity you just ran. All right. So far we got body, explain, activities, and you're going to cycle through that quite often. And peer review, group debrief, cleanup. All right. So you're just going to cycle through that a number of times throughout your entire hour, 2 hours, or workshop day. All right. Now, next, then basically we've got the summary and conclusion. So, summary, today we have covered. Today we have covered blah, blah, blah. And today you have experienced blah, blah, blah. And today you have discovered that it's possible to do blah, blah. All right. You really want to lay it out thick in regards to the summary. And last of all, we got the conclusion. And the conclusion would sound something like, going forward, please remember that blah, blah. All right. So going forward, please remember with public speaking, it's not what you say that matters, it's how deeply you connect with the audience and really make the content come alive for them and how they experience what you're actually talking about. All right. But whatever example we want to use there. But the key wording for conclusion is going forward, please remember. Going forward, please remember. All right, folks. So let me just stop that for a moment. Essentially, I just wanted to share with you a structure, a roadmap that you can actually follow if you are looking to create your sessions or you're looking to have a bigger impact on the different segments that you actually run when you deliver a session. Because as I said, when you're first starting out as a trainer, one of the things you're really grappling for is, how do I do this? How do I do it well? And when I'm doing something, it's just not working. And maybe it's just not working because the words that you're using when you do something are just not landing with your audience, or it's creating confusion. And maybe you could say it a different way. The other big part of it is the order and sequence. All right. So when I've gone through this, I want you to notice what order did we put things in? Why did we put it in that particular order? And the linkages between one thing to the next thing. If you master this structure, wow, the world becomes your oyster because suddenly you've got the roadmap, you've got any topic at all, you just plug it in and you are set and ready to go. And I've been teaching this structure for the last 10 years now, Basically, people have been able to go, huh, okay, cool. What's my topic? Plug it in, and you are off and running. All right. Now, I've been hesitant to share this because this is something I've come up with that has been so powerful for so many people, but now it's yours. And highly recommend that you type this out into a Word document or Excel document or whatever works for you. But I really want to encourage you, look at the subtleties, look at the wording, look at how we've phrased things and the order that we put it in and the science and structure behind everything that makes up this magical agenda. On that note, folks, hope you got some value from it and would highly love to definitely see your results with it. You know, put in your comments, put in how it works for you, what you love about it. And yeah, would love to hear from you. So don't forget to like, comment, share, and let's get this message out there, particularly for trainers that are first starting out that don't know exactly what a great job would look like. But at the same time, people that have been in the industry that maybe are getting good results, but want to take the results to the next level and wants to finesse some of the languaging they're using when they present. Thanks for watching, team, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.